Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to the 37th webinar series on design of microstrip patch antenna arrays for isoflex Earth coverage in small satellite applications, organized by IEEE Malabar subsection in association with IEEE Malabar Hub. Today we have an eminent personality. He is Dr. Milind Thomas Temale. He is currently Associate Professor at J.K. Lakshmipati University, Jaipur. Previously, he was a postdoctoral research engineer at XLM University of Limoges, France, former head of the department and dean R&D at Believers College, Believers Church, Carmel Engineering College, Kerala. Formerly, he was an assistant professor at New Horizon College of Engineering, Bangalore. And prior to that, he was a senior lecturer at DIATM, West Bengal. He completed his PhD at Jadavpur University, Calcutta, and completed his master's and bachelor's in electronics and communication engineering from Birla Institute of Technology, Ranchi. So we welcome you, sir, to this webinar. You may please start the session now. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for that elaborate introduction. I'll just share my screen. Is the screen visible to everyone?
Yes, it is.
So Sabik, is the screen visible? Can I start?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Professor Sabik for the coordinating efforts he had put in to make this possible, this program. And first of all, I would like to give you all my greetings on behalf of J.K. Lakshmipati University in Jaipur, where I'm currently an associate professor and I'm also doing my research in the area that I have mentioned in my title. I would like to make a special mention first of my mentor, Dr. Jibendra Shekhar Roy. He's currently in the KIT University in Bhubaneswar, but he also worked in the same lab that you mentioned in XLIM in the University of Limoges in France. So he was key in motivating me to take up the study of microstrip patch antennas for wireless communications. And time he was in the Birla Institute of Technology, and Dr. Bhaskar Gupta was another supervisor at the Jadavpur University, which you mentioned. So they were my mentors, and I'd like to mention him specifically for giving me an interest in this particular domain. So this work basically, draws on the electromagnetic band gap materials, the electronic band gap structure. The electronic band gap antenna is the foundation for the work. Okay, so a lot of reported work in the 90s, in the late 2000s were there in EBG structures, different applications, and antenna designs were reported in journals and in several conferences. So the pioneering work in the EBG structure was done by my supervisor when I was in France. That was Dr. Bernard Jacot. And later on, Dr. Mohammad Ramal, he joined the team. And we were able to work together the last 1.5 to 2 years to develop the isoflux radiation pattern solutions in the pixel arrays, which I will elaborate a little later. So this is the background of the work. And a current application of these kind of antennas is in the small satellite domain. So I have used that purposely in my title. Whereas, these kind of antennas can also be applied to smaller devices, even in the future, the next generation 5G infrastructure as well. Okay, so one of the startups in Germany is the Celestial Space Technologies, And I would like to specially mention Mr. Mayank Sharma, whom I'm actively working with right now. So we are also working on the certain antenna solutions for small satellites. And he has a small satellite startup, basically a communication network link in the cislunar orbit, that is the orbit between the Earth and the Moon, and communication infrastructure on the Moon, basically. So we are involved in certain designs over there. So this is the background of the work, how the research is ongoing, and we are continuing the research now at the J.K. Lakshmiput University here. Okay. So the need for the isoflux radiation pattern is in the small satellite domain. Particularly the work which I'm going to present to you right now is the application or the need for the isoflux only for CubeSats. Okay, so let me give you a small background on what the isoflux actually is. So many of you may be aware of radiation patterns, okay, and you may be aware of antenna designs, RF and microwave in particular. So if you look at the image on the top, so that is typically how, this is an artistic impression, and that is how typically a satellite scans the Earth. So the satellite completes a revolution around the Earth, and it scans geographical areas as it moves along, and data telemetry applications take place in the illuminated zone. So there is a communication link, uplink, downlink established between the satellite and the ground stations. So the main component in the transmit receiver system is the antenna, so whose optimization has a lot of reported articles in journals and conferences, and it's a very active domain of research, particularly in the IEEE transactions. And IEEE itself has, I think, more than 3 or 4 transactions and journals only for the domain of antenna designs and propagation and wave theory. So when the satellite does that, there is a need, a design issue for covering a larger geographical area. That is a prime concern. So if you look at the diagram on the left, so there is again a satellite. If the antenna had a beam that was focusing in the axial direction, so where I've written the dark arrow mark here, it would not be able to cover a larger geographical area. Only a narrow illumination would be possible as the satellite scans the Earth. So that is a directional beam, but it is only a beam in the axial direction. So the technique, the design technique now we are going to employ is an isoflux. So the simulated isoflux template you can see on the right. So this is what we simulated in our lab. So the red line shows you the radiation pattern in an elevated angle, approximately 60-degree elevated angle. And at the axial direction, the gain is almost 0. Here in this case, it's less than 0. So if you design such a radiation pattern for an antenna, so you could achieve a scanning, a satellite scanning that is shown on the left over here. So you see now the beam is not focused at in the axial direction, but at the elevated direction, the radial direction on the right. So here we have chosen a template where the elevation would be from 0 to minus 60 degree and 0 to plus 60 degree. So this is the background of what an isoflux radiation is. And to compare, in the minus 30 to 30 elevation angle, we have given a 13 dB directive beam template, which we were able to achieve, in fact, a higher gain and also a larger bandwidth because of the particular pixel antenna design, which we shall see now. So that's the background. You see, reconfigurable beam antennas are very important. They're necessary to improve the efficiency of the spatial telemetry links, as I said about the beam scanning, particularly for nanosatellites. Okay, so the RF front end, which you are going to design, it must be capable to switch It must be able to switch from a high gain directive pattern to the isoflux pattern. That's where the design challenge is. So the gain must be concentrated at the elevation angles. All right. So let me skip this. It's a brief background on the different satellite orbital locations, but it's not relevant in my talk right now. But the small satellites which we design, they are particularly focused at the LEO, the low Earth orbits. So since they are at the low Earth orbits, so you can just compare the angles. Look at the elevation angles. The elevation angle decreases as we move towards the GEO orbit. Okay, whereas we had a 30-degree flexibility at the LEO, we have 17.3 degree only near about less than 20 degree of freedom for the isoflux as we go to the GEO. So this application is right now explored only for the LEO satellite application as we speak. So let me now give you a background of the procedure of the antenna design we are going to do. So to understand the procedure, we need to understand the payload. Okay, so why we need the miniaturized satellites? So for example, NASA, even now there is a program called NISAR, where our ISRO and NASA are coming out with newer designs and several projects for several applications, like for example, Earth and environmental monitoring, climate change studies. So they require antennas that can fit on the payload. So you see the CubeSat, typically as it is, the nanosat as popularly called a CubeSat, it has a mass of not more than 2 kilograms, and its dimensions are only about 10 into 10 into 10 centimeter cube volume. And you can build a 1U. That's what the CubeSat is. A single unit of a CubeSat is a 1U, and you can build upon it and increase the volume and the area, the base area and the volume. And we have satellites, payloads up to 12U dimensions, which are extended. All right. So as we narrow down the satellite payload dimensions and the weight of the antenna, it is necessary that weight of the satellite, it is necessary that the antenna design also must be miniaturized. So they must fit into the volume of the available CubeSat area. So manufacturing costs are very expensive. One of the primary areas why the space research agencies are moving into nanosatellites, just to mention, is because you can have a quicker research time, a quicker manufacturing time, a quicker launch time, and you can save the costs. So you see the design time of miniaturizing the antennas is very large. It's not easy to obtain a miniaturized antenna with the same time limit that you may obtain a miniaturized satellite, for example. So as and when the circuit is reduced, complementarily, you need to reduce the antenna dimensions, which requires a heavy work. So why we have chosen this particular antenna that I'm presenting to you, which has a foundation in the EBG antenna, the electronic bandgap antenna, is that it is an ideal candidate for quick miniaturization. We have a better control over it. We have a control over the bandwidth. We have a control over the polarization. Okay, and the specifications that I have mentioned here, these specifications, when we were working in the lab, they were given by the National Center for Space Studies in France. They had specified this for a particular application called the Argos program, okay, which is a gravity offload system program, but basically an Earth observation. So it's an advanced research geo or observation satellite system. So the beacons were placed on the Earth and on the sea, and you could do environmental monitoring by transmitting the telemetry data to the satellite. So this particular application required isoflux pattern, not gain in the axial direction. So we also tested the antenna on the X-band satellites, because traditionally the UHF is used, but we require high-speed links. So the UHF band, which is popular now for satellites, is insufficient for high-speed links as we are moving into satellites which are going to be used for the future mobile communication or 5G infrastructure. LEO Earth, low Earth orbits satellites would also come into the infrastructure. For example, like the intelligent transportation system, the driverless vehicle systems, the IoT applications, they would all connect with the LEO satellites, where specifically large Earth scanning is important over there. So this working band with some tolerance, and we desire a circular polarization of the antenna, and the allowed footprint was a 2U system, a 20 by 20 centimeter surface area. So that was the challenge of miniaturizing the antenna to this footprint. Now the approach. So this particular antenna, so I will first present to you a single unit of the antenna. So this antenna can be placed in an array, an M by N array. When it is not placed in an array, a single unit, as you can see on the right, is what is referred to as a pixel antenna. And when the single pixel, the pixel idea is borrowed from the image pixels, of course, but this term, the pixel antenna, was introduced by Dr. Bernard Jacot in France. He was the first to report this name, and he used the word pixel because when the antenna is not used in the complete array, the single element is called a pixel. And when the pixel is made into an array, and the pixel itself is an EBG antenna, by the way, then we refer to the complete antenna structure as a radiating matrix antenna, because the idea goes back to exciting the antenna for obtaining the isoflux pattern. We have a system called the Butler matrix. So the Butler matrix was used to excite the different positions to obtain a geographical coverage. So we start with a larger antenna, the EBG antenna, and it is a high gain, and we try to make it, design it into a low profile antenna, 2 lambda by 10, with the small dimensions and an achievable axial ratio less than 3 dB. We want the directivity we test the directivity first in the axial direction, but for the isoflux, we test it in the theta equals 60-degree directions. So our conclusion of our research was that this particular pixel antenna is a very good candidate, or in fact ideal, because given the advantage of the EBG, where we can suppress the surface waves in the dielectric, and we could also introduce a cavity where we can enclose the leaky wave modes, so we can use this particular EBG property to miniaturize the antenna for a smaller satellite footprint. So this is the idea of the agile radiating matrix antenna. This is the array on the right again. So each unit is the pixel, which is an EBG antenna. We have a frequency selective surface on the top of the antenna. So that gives us the freedom to obtain a larger bandwidth, because we will have a lower quality factor, because a reflection coefficient is negative. All right, that's the use of the FSS. Now, the radiating surface on the antenna at a geographical coverage spot across the far field distance is obtained by taking the spatial Fourier transform of the radiating surface. Okay, that's the idea. I don't want to elaborate into the mathematics of this. So if you see on the right, a pixel is excited. Okay, so a sinc function, its Fourier transform, the rectangular function's Fourier transform, it gives you a sinc function, and the spatial Fourier transform of the sinc function, when put together as an array, it covers a larger geographical area. So you can excite each pixel to cover the geographical area that you want. So you can see the active area on the right in red. So you have the flexibility to reconfigure. Beam steering, beam forming applications are also possible with this. So this is the concept of the matrix antenna. We call it the agile radiating because we have the flexibility of beam forming and also beam steering. Okay. So this closed surface S, okay, this red closed surface is actually a parallelepiped. So we are using the spatial Green's function in the closed space to obtain the radiating integral on the surface. And then we take the spatial Fourier transform, unlike the Dirac delta transform for a single radiating field. So you are going to obtain a 2D spatial transform of the field on the radiating surface. Okay. Now let me describe each pixel structure for you. So we start with the larger high gain antenna. This is the EBG antenna. So where you have a ground plane below and a dielectric on the top. Then we have a gap, as you can see here. And then on the top of the cavity, we are introducing the frequency selective surface. So the leaky wave modes, they are going to propagate in the structure, and it is going to have an axial directivity. And this axial directivity is actually a function of the frequency, and it decreases very strongly when the frequency decreases. Okay, but in a low profile antenna, which we will make, so when you introduce the walls around the antenna, so you can see the final structure over here, the perspective view, we have introduced the walls and contained the leaky wave modes. So in the low profile EBG antenna, so we have a negative phase of the FSS. That's the EBG concept we are going to use here. The negative phase of the upper surface of the partial reflecting surface. So the bandwidth increases very much because the quality factor is now reducing. So the metallic walls will reduce the vanishing modes. Okay, and so the surface EM field will be constant on the top of the material. The surface field, so you can see the field cartography on the right. The surface field will be constant on the top of the material. So this will generate a directive radiation pattern even when the antenna is made low profile. So this is the cross structure, typical designs which many of you will be familiar. The cavity, the ground plane, the substrate, and the FSS, the cross view. So you can see a broadside radiation here. But the very interesting thing over here is that we have used a microstrip patch antenna as an exciting source. This is not a patch antenna, it is an EBG structure, but we are using the patch inside the cavity to excite the cavity. Okay. So now let me discuss the results. So you can see the open cavity over here and a microstrip patch antenna inside, which is fed by 4 ports to obtain a circular polarization, each port having a phase difference of 90 degrees. This is a planar pixel antenna. Its thickness is lambda by 10. Okay, we were working on the 200 to 250 megahertz band, and they are matched to 50 ohms. So if you see the S11 response, the radially vanishing mode was responsible for giving us this type of a dual band, dual frequency structure. Okay. However, in certain satellite applications, we want a single system to have both the transmit and the receive. So that's the approach that we followed. So if you see the directivity and the gain is following the directivity. So the directivity shows the behavior of an EBG structure. And after the cutoff frequency, so you can observe that the directivity is falling down. And at 300 megahertz and 450 megahertz, which was the specifications given to us by the CNES France. So at the desired frequency, we had an adapted gain with S11, which was much below minus 15 dB, was very encouraging for us at the beginning. But there was one problem we faced initially, that was this dimension was around 340 millimeter, which was a little more than the satellite payload expectation. So we further reduced that. This is the miniaturized structure. So you can see the cavity and you can see the patch antenna in the cavity on the substrate, which is exciting the cavity, the radial mode. So we used the periodicity feature. We used substrate, the Rogers substrate 3.38 with a low loss tangent. So that we wanted to keep the same number of periodicity, the same number of patterns after the miniaturization also. Okay, we didn't want to reduce that because that would again change the property of the pixel. So that is another flexibility which we observed in the design, that without changing the periodicity and the pattern, we were able to achieve the miniaturization. And if you want to miniaturize the square or the rectangle patch antenna inside, we need to use a high dielectric material for this. That was again a design issue. We have an ongoing research for taking care of that thickness as well. But after miniaturization, you can observe the gain is almost the same. Okay, but we had the advantage that within the 400 to 465, which was the expected receiver and the transmit frequencies, we were able to use a single mode to contain both the receiver and the transmit frequencies. Okay, that was a very encouraging result after miniaturization. At 400.8 and 465 megahertz, both RX and TX could be contained. This was a particular Argos specification we were able to achieve. And we were able to reduce the lateral dimensions without much change in the overall behavior. For example, it did not affect bandwidth. So you can see a high bandwidth, which is a characteristic of the EBG. The axial ratio again was very impressive. We had at 60 degrees, which we desired, at plus minus 60 degrees, we had a 0.74 dB and a minus 3.16 dB realized gain. And I will skip that. This is the evolution of the receiver and the transmit gain separately. This was the measurement setup. So you can see on the left the array that was fabricated and the anechoic chamber where it was tested. We had realized an excellent result. So you can see the achieved gain pattern, which was comparable to the template. We were able to achieve the isoflux. So you can see the sync circular symmetry here. As I mentioned earlier, when we had taken the spatial Fourier transform, it follows the same pattern. So we had a less than 0 dB axial gain, and at 60 degrees, we were able to achieve a maximum gain over here, which was the desired isoflux pattern. So the axial ratio was also well below minus 3 dB at the 60 degree. You can see on the bottom over here at 60 degrees, at 40 to 60 degrees, the isoflux axial ratio was below 3 dB. And we had measured for several cut angles. So the simulated view of the isoflux pattern looks like this on the top. And we had very low grating lobes as well. So the measured patterns were also in agreement. So I don't want to spend too much time over there. Let me conclude now because I've taken almost 1 hour of your time. So this EBG concept of building the pixel antenna and the miniaturization process is an excellent candidate. And we have reported it in our journals and conferences, several of them, that we are able to miniaturize using this technique. And the current research is on developing the process for a MIMO antenna system, MIMO environment. The feasibility study is underway. So we do require miniaturizations much smaller to go to a 1U system. And that's where we are now going to work with Celestial and XLIM to see if it is feasible to have a larger manufacturing. Few publications. So I want to thank you all, thank all the organizers for providing me the opportunity to present my research results before you today evening. Thank you very much once again. If you have any questions, I'll be willing to take that.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful session. Thank you for sharing your research experiences with all of us. I think the participants have benefited a lot from your session. And participants, please ask your doubts or queries, if any? Participants, please come forward. Otherwise, we can wind up the session. Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session.
Okay,
On
thank
behalf
you.
of IEEE Middleware subsection, I think there is no other queries.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Sure,
yes,
sure.
sir.
Yes, hi, first of all, thank you for this talk. Actually, regarding the miniaturization, I wanted to ask, you have pixel, and basically how I understand the images that the patch is basically the
Should I choose some slide for you if you like?
Yeah, exactly. Where you have the slide number 9 would be nice. 9 or 10 would work. Slide number 9 or 10.
This one?
This
one?
This one, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So here you have this radiating patch, which I believe are being excited because of the patch which is coming.
No, that is, let me correct. It is not a microstrip patch on the top. These are frequency selective surfaces on the top.
Okay.
This is the periodic arrangement
Okay.
of the FSS. Okay, it's a partially reflecting surface, and inside the cavity you can see the patch is placed, and the patch antenna is excited by the ports.
By the ports.
So the cavity is now resonating.
Yeah.
Okay, so the patch is exciting the cavity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the FSS is now giving you this response. If you observe this directivity over here, it is a direct function of frequency. As the frequency increases, and then after the cutoff frequency, the gain comes down.
Yeah, this is all clear to me. Only one thing which I would like to understand is what is the difference between partially reflecting surfaces and a reflecting surface.
So a proper reflecting surface would be, you know, the reflection coefficient is -1.
Yeah.
So we are not we don't have it in nature that you get exactly -1. And even the perfect magnetic conductor with a phase of 0, we don't have that in nature. So that's why we refer it to as a partially reflecting material.
And what material is this periodic structure made of?
We have used Rogers.
Rogers. Okay.
Yes.
Is it a plastic substrate material or a metallic?
No, it is not. It is not. It is a PTFE based material.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. We have used 403C specification. It has a dielectric constant of 3.38.
Okay, then it's a substrate material basically.
And it's low loss, yes. And for the patch, we have used an Arlon substrate. It's 10.2. It has high dielectric. Dielectric radius.
Yeah. This also your cavity would also act as a substrate, but like an ideal substrate, I guess.
No, we did not work with ideal substrate.
No,
because see, if you use talking about ideal, if you use a PEC, that's also not natural. We may have to use annealed copper because at the fabrication we use annealed copper. So PEC is also again ideal because it's reflection.
No, but I'm talking about the cavity which is in between the Rogers 4003 and the radiating patch, the vacuum or the empty
the
space.
Radiating patch is below and the FSS is on the top.
So this empty space would act as a vacuum or air.
That is the cavity. That is the cavity.
Yeah.
So we want to contain the leaky wave modes using the walls. So you see, we have arranged 4 walls around. So we are capturing that.
Understand it.
We are capturing the modes inside the cavity.
Yeah.
So if you can tune the matching of the patch inside, you are able to control the cavity inside. Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
And the bandwidth is dependent upon the reflection coefficient of the FSS on the top.
Yeah.
So that is proportional to the quality factor. That's what I mentioned.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, sir, I have one question. Devanshu Jain from J.K. Lakshmipati University.
Sure, sir.
Sir, this is like a miniaturization antenna, pixel antenna. So this we are using in the like satellite communication, or can we have some kind of antenna that we can fit in our body, or for that we can some radiate to
No, we don't use EBG structures for body wearable type. That we use a planar. We need a purely planar antenna for pasting it. We cannot achieve the cavity behavior on a body wearable antenna. No, that's not possible.
Okay.
Because the cavity would protrude out of the body. But talking about body area and antenna, it would be interesting to note that we have a research by Yuri Feldman at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in Israel, where they have worked on an antenna where the skin itself acts as the antenna. Okay, the human skin itself behaves like an array of antennas. So you don't need to, patch anything on your body. You can, the work, I don't know the current status of the work right now. There are no reported papers after that, but you can actually, use perhaps some microdynamic simulations to study that process.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other queries? Okay, sir. Dr. Milind, sir, we are very, we have benefited a lot from your session, and we express our
Thank you.
sincere
You could
gratitude.
mail me your queries as well. It's with Mr. Sadiq and others. And so, you could engage with me otherwise. Thank you very much for your time and the opportunity.
Thank you once again, and we thank all the participants for joining for this session. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you a lot for joining with us. IEEE Malabar subsection is always happy and always delighted to have your.
Sure, we will engage in future. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.